Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE Clash of Champions 2020 preview and predictions. We have actually got a really full card. We've got 9 matches to predict tonight, and every single one of them is a championship match. Every title in the main roster on Raw and SmackDown is on the line. Every single match on this card is a championship match. No NXT titles, but everything on Raw, everything on SmackDown, every tag title, every women's title, and every other singles men's championship is on the line on this show. I don't know how many changes we're going to get on these titles, but that's what we're here to try and predict. So, given that we've got 9 matches, John, I'm curious how you feel about the show. Give me a hype rating, scale of 1 to 10, that kind of thing. Talk to us.
Looking at this card and just recollecting how a lot of these matches have been built, because I haven't been keeping up with everything. I don't want to be disingenuous. But what I've followed, this is a really solid card. Look, this could be another situation where, much like Payback was a lot of fun relative to SummerSlam, which was kind of a meh show, I have high hopes for Clash of Champions. That could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. I'm going to clock my hype level in at, I think I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. That's the number I'm feeling.
Nice.
So I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. How are you feeling, brother?
You know what? Tell you what, if you would swap Asuka Zelina for Bayley Nikki, I would be at a 7.5. But because Asuka Zelina's on the pre-show, I'm at a 7.
All right, fair enough. So I'm a full point higher than you this time. We'll see how that changes after our preview. Sometimes the numbers do change a little bit.
Yeah. There's one match. There's one match on this show that I am like foaming at the mouth excited for. And everything else is on a range from don't care, don't even want to see, to excited but not like overly anticipating.
I think I know the match that you're like salivating at the mouth for, and if it is what I think it is, I'm inclined to agree. But yeah, I'd especially say, at least according to your preview card structure, the last 3 matches I'm pretty hyped for. Yeah. And I'm actually surprised about being hyped for the main event, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's get into this card, man.
All right, awesome. Unfortunately, we have to talk about Asuka Zelina first. And, you know, granted, it's a predictable one. I don't think that there's any chance that Asuka drops the title here to Zelina, but I was really hoping that these two would make the main card, if for no other reason, because the whole point of being on a pay-per-view is to be seen by more people. And Zelina is somebody that I want more eyes on as an actual worker, because I think she's a really good worker, and I want her to get that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm hoping her and Asuka can do something special together despite being resigned to the pre-show.
Yeah.
No use spending much time on this, though. I definitely think Asuka's going to retain.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I'm looking forward to the match. Do we want to, I'm just going to put it on the table right now, do we want to live react to Asuka Zelina?
I mean, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
I'm open to that, absolutely.
I think I would like to. Maybe, and the thing is, I'm expecting it to start at like 6:40ish, maybe 6:45. That's when when there's only one match on the pre-show, that's when that tends to start, is between like 35 and 45, so 25 minutes before the show. So I think given that, we can kind of tune in around 6:30 and still catch it. So I'm definitely down to live react to that match, and hell, I'll even go as far as to say the WWE was smart by putting this on the pre-show, because if it would have been Nikki Bayley, we wouldn't have been interested in live reacting to it, because quite frankly, Nikki Cross is just kind of annoying at this point. So,
absolutely.
Next up, though, our first match on sort of the main card here is a tag title match. Street Profits versus Andrade and Garza. You know, I gotta tell you, man, this feud has gotten really, really repetitive, really redundant, really kind of annoying in my opinion. I'm ready for something new. Really anything new at this point in either tag division, but mostly the Raw tag division. The Raw tag division has been so stale for so long, it is almost embarrassing at this point. I'm waiting for them to do any. And then the really, really unfortunate thing is the Viking Raiders, who I'm a huge fan of both those guys as singles wrestlers and in tag, are no longer able to be a tag team right now because Ivar is out with an injury. He just had surgery. He had a really bad neck injury. So we're not going to see them as a team for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, you said annoying to describe the whole Nikki Cross Bayley developments. That's how I feel about seeing this match again. I'm annoyed. The only reason it's not getting my full wrath is because the people involved will make it a good match from a work rate standpoint in the ring. But as I've said before, as I've gotten older, it's not all about that for me. You know, I want a good story. I want solid characters. And while I feel like that could even exist here, there's no effort to really bring that out. I'm going to say it. I think Andrade and Garza win here. I think if it is the opener, which I do think you were smart putting this as the opener because I could totally buy it, how do you pop the crowd on a show like Clash of Champions Gold Rush with a title change? I think Garza and Andrade, they've been in the ring with the Street Profits so many times. I think they're finally going to figure it out and they're going to beat these guys. So I'm going with Garza and Andrade to win the titles.
Yep. Yeah, that's an interesting call, though. That's really interesting. I actually peeked at the Vegas odds for this show like late last night, so I guess technically it would be this morning. And this match was literally a pick'em. There is no betting odds favorite for this match, or at least there wasn't when I last checked. So it's literally just like a coin flip, 50-50. And in WWE, I don't know. It's one of those things where I tend to go with like the lamer decision, which is a retention, but then there's also like, if you go like worst case scenario, it's Andrade and Garza being saddled with Raw tag titles, and oh boy, like, and then that's like a storyline disaster too, because that basically implies that Zelina was the problem. And like, so Zelina, like, we don't really do high spots and low shots for pay-per-views anymore, but if we were, Zelina would easily be the low shot if she loses to Asuka and watches as the two guys that she used to manage have immediate success without her. You know what I mean?
But I even told you, I remember remarking to you in a conversation, watch WWE do that.
Yeah.
Because I think I even said to you, like, dude, do you think this is going to be finally going to win the tag titles now that Zelina's done with them? I think you even said how horrible that would be, but it's WWE, so
I know.
Totally
yeah, well, I wanted to talk about it in here, but just because it's like people need to hear what we have to say about it, you know?
Oh, of course. No, I'm just saying, like, I agree with you because I feel like we had that exact conversation, and I remember now, like, I did mention that to you. So, no, I understand that completely. That's not the issue. I'm just saying, like, with WWE, that would totally make Zelina look that bad, I feel like.
I'm just wondering, like, if that's, like, an early sign that they're ready to be done with Zelina entirely, because they're burying her as a talent. Well, they're not. Okay. It depends on how she loses to Asuka, and even if she does lose in, like, 5 minutes to Asuka, it's not a burial because it's Asuka. But that's what it would feel like, is they're burying her as a talent and then burying her as a manager. And at that point, what use is she at all?
Exactly. And, like, dude, I already told you just to go even farther. Now, this does go into fantasy territory. Let me just make that explicitly clear for our audience. I think Garza and Andrade win, and I could even see at WrestleMania the first ever father-son tag team champions in history, Ray and Dominic beating Andrade and Garza for the titles.
Yeah.
Because you even said the division's trash anyway.
Yeah.
So they're not going to care if they do hot potato like several more months.
You know what? That's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I need to hear. I'm jumping on the ship. Why else would they keep this program going for this long, if not for the fact that they wanted to put the titles on Andrade and Garza? I'm signing on to your points here. I'm going to pick Andrade and Garza to win the titles as well.
All right, let's move on.
Next up, we've got the SmackDown Tag Team Championship because, let's be real, at this point, not even NXT can protest me saying the WWE doesn't give a fuck about tag teams, right?
Certainly not.
Cesaro and Nakamura defending the SmackDown Tag Titles against the Lucha House Party. Oh, you know, I really wish I could be like, Kalisto's going to get a shocking upset win over Cesaro here. We're going to get a title change, but at the end of the day, it's big guys versus small guys, and you know how Vince feels about that. I'm picking Cesaro and Nakamura to retain.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We've seen tension in the Lucha House Party or Nakamura. Nothing more needs to be said.
All right. Third match on the main show, fourth match overall. We've got the Women's Tag Team Championship because, of course, Vince's apathy towards tag team wrestling can't be stopped at men. It has to extend to the women, too. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, the two women that supposedly hate each other and only ever started teaming to get their hands on Sasha Banks and Bayley, who are no longer even together, defending the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship against Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, a newly reformed kind of redux of the Riott Squad. I saw at one point they were going to be called the Living Riot, and I loved that, but now I think they're just being called the Riott Squad, so I'm a little disappointed by that, but I just have them listed as Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan in the description. I think you and I both want Ruby and Liv to win this, but I am going to suspend my emotions here and unfortunately go with Nia and Shayna to retain.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you here. Emotionally, I am rooting for Liv and Ruby so hard. Yeah. They have been working their asses off for so long. They deserve a championship. I would say especially Ruby, but Liv too, just for how much she's improved and grown as a performer. Okay, so I am going with Shayna and Nia, but I need to give myself some false hope. I don't think there will be a title match at Survivor Series because that's the whole brand warfare, so I don't see a lot of champions.
Well, we should still get Hell in a Cell between now and then.
That is true. I actually completely forgot about October. Maybe Ruby and Liv will get a rematch then and win then, but I just don't think it's going to happen here for them. Hell, maybe they'll want to drag the story out to WrestleMania because it would be the ultimate babyface win for this team. And, we had to struggle and fight for this friendship, but we did, and look what happened. But I will give them this credit because of Ruby and Liv and because of how invested I am in their relationship and them getting their redemptive moment. This is easily the most interesting tag team match on this card. Of the three, this is the most interesting.
Well, I will say, though, work rate-wise, that SmackDown tag title match is going to pop.
Oh, work rate-wise, absolutely. But story-wise and character-wise, Ruby and Liv alone are just getting this. And watching Shayna is always a treat.
Yeah. And, I've been kind of humming her theme song for the last hour and a half.
I can vouch for this. He absolutely has. So.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, I agree, though. And we both kind of came to the same conclusion independently. Nia and Shayna to retain. Hopefully, Ruby and Liv get the titles at some point in the next 3 months. And I say 3 months because TLC is also in December, and I could see it happening there as well. That being said, though, let's move on. Bobby Lashley defending the U.S. title against the man that he won it from, Apollo Crews. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I'll tell you right now what I think since you asked me. I think Bobby Lashley is going to retain here, and I think that Bobby Lashley is going to drop it to Slapjack is Shane Thorne, right?
Yeah.
I could see him dropping it either to Slapjack or T-Bar because Hurt Business has been taking it to Retribution. They even had a whole thing where, their music hit. They confronted Retribution. It was pretty cool. I love the Hurt Business. I've gone on record as saying I am a fan of that angle. I love what MVP is doing, and I think it's rejuvenated the careers of Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and Cedric Alexander. So all respect to, all three of those guys and MVP as the manager. So I think that Lashley retains, and then I've been thinking about what he does after that. Well, you just dovetail it into Retribution wanting what Hurt Business has got, and one of those members is going to win the United States title because they're rogues and they want to hold titles hostage now. That's the next phase of their plan. So Bobby Lashley to retain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are saying T-Bar, and you even mentioned Slapstick. The one name that's going unmentioned is Mace, and you know how WWE loves to associate people of color with each other? I feel like, you're going to have Lashley take it from Crews. I wouldn't be surprised if they had Mace take it from Lashley for that same reason.
Right, because Mace is Dio Madden, correct?
Exactly, yeah. And then
hey, Dio's
I could even see T-Bar going after Drew, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, that's true. T-Bar being the leader, why wouldn't he want the WWE title? I like your idea of Mace, but I think my general core sentiment still stands. I think Retribution's getting that championship. One way or the other, I think a member of Retribution is going to be the next U.S. champion.
I would absolutely love for Retribution to kind of have one of those, dynasty-type reigns where, everybody has some kind of title. Even if it's as simple as, T-Bar gets the U.S. title, Mace and Slapstick, or Slapjack, I always want to call him Slapstick, Slapjack win the tag titles, and then, what is Mercedes? Or Mercedes doesn't have a Retribution name yet, but Mia is Reckoning. Reckoning and whatever Mercedes ends up being, I want them to win the women's tag titles, even if it's as simple as that. That's to me the bare minimum acceptable of what I would be happy with for Retribution to really feel like a legit thing. Realistic, or not as realistic, but more hope in my thing. I want T-Bar to win the world title, Mace to win the U.S. title, one of those two guys, and Slapjack to win the tag titles together. And if that doesn't happen, I would also be okay with Slapjack winning the 24/7 title and or Mercedes winning titles, as far as like they win the tag titles and one of them wins the Raw Women's title. I want everything on this group.
You explicated that perfectly. I've got nothing more to add. I already stated my case. Lashley to retain, a Retribution member, and I'll just keep it at that, is going to be the next U.S. champion.
Yeah, I really want T-Bar to win that WWE title, though, because I really want him versus Keith Lee for that title as the main event of WrestleMania next year.
I've been saying that, man. I mean, granted, I was saying it as like him as Dijakovic, but hey, different name, same result. Give me T-Bar, Keith Lee at Mania, for sure.
And low-key, is T-Bar even that much worse of a name than Dijakovic?
I don't think so. It's growing on me.
Like, granted, just Dijak would be better than either one of those names, but T-Bar is, I would argue, an improvement over Dijakovic.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from there.
Far less of a mouthful. Far easier to chant, too.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I guess Dijakovic is one chant, but Let's Go T-Bar is another one.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right, let's move on to our SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bayley versus Nikki Cross. God, if the result of Lashley Cruz wasn't so obvious, I would have had us talk about Bayley Nikki before that, just because it feels less important than that, but it feels super obvious. And I've seen a lot of people saying Nikki's going to beat Bayley for the title here.
God, I hope they're wrong. I mean... See, this is why I hate matches like this happening over and over and over again.
Because you just feel like, why would they keep it going if they didn't intend to switch the title?
Exactly, just like we were saying at the start with Garza, Andrade, and Street Profits, yeah. I hate Nikki Cross in this. I've been calling her Super Nikki every time she comes up because of how she's been booked lately. I still have faith in Bayley's title because, dude, her title reign's been going on so long. I don't think it's past the year mark yet, but I think it's close.
It is over 300 days. We're pretty confident in that, right?
Oh, yeah. We could say for a fact it's over 300 days. I don't see why they would just have it stop here. So I'm going to 350? Yep. Holy shit. So, yeah, we're calling, dude, she's got to cross that year threshold, I think. She's got to. So I'm going to stay with Bayley here, especially because I do think Nikki is going to feud with Alexa. So Bayley to win again, but this match pisses me off the most on this entire card. Bayley deserves so much better than this. I did hear that Naomi had surgery recently, so that explains why she wasn't in it. So I'm a bit more forgiving.
Plus, Lacey and Alexa are kind of caught up in a thing right now, too, so it wouldn't have made sense for it to be either one of them either.
But honestly, bro, I don't even care if it would have made me a hypocrite because I'm not going to rope you into this. I know that we like strict brand splits and we don't like, super shows and shakeups, all that stuff. But I would have called an audible and done maybe an NXT superstar. Maybe I would have given like somebody like a Shotzi this spot. She just had such an amazing match with Io.
You don't even need to break any rules. Shayna and Nia have the tag titles. Let Shayna challenge Bayley.
Absolutely.
Although you know what, that wouldn't work because then they'd be both heels. So
yeah, like I hate that Nikki Cross is getting another shot at this. Jesus Christ. It'll probably be a solid matchup because Bayley is in. I've called her the best wrestler in the world right now. And Nikki Cross, for as much as I fucking loathe her right now, and really just her booking, I've got to always make that clear. As much as I loathe her booking, she is solid in the ring. I am just so tired of this matchup. Bayley to retain, and please, for the love of God, move on to something else.
Yeah. All right. So just to ask, do you think Sasha is going to show up at all?
Maybe post-match, but honestly, I don't think she's going to show up at all.
Yeah, my speculation is that her music will hit, but she'll never show up.
So kind of playing mind games with Bayley a little bit.
The music will hit. It'll distract Bayley. We'll get a near fall where Nikki goes for a roll-up and Bayley manages to kick out and scare everyone. And then Bayley will maybe even immediately hit a Rose Plant for the win. But we will not see Sasha at any point.
There you go. All right.
Next up, Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn in a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship to become the undisputed Intercontinental Champion. And this is the match that I'm looking forward to on this show.
Oh, see, I thought it was going to be either that or Jay Roman because of the story that they've been telling.
Jay Roman is like fine. The promos have been great, but the match, I'm not expecting to be anything spectacular. This fucking match, dude. Jeff Hardy, is going to jump off something high, and the other two dudes are absolute aces in the ring.
Yes. God, I want Sami to win this so bad, but my confidence took a dip after him winning that triple threat tonight.
Should I tell you my prediction here?
Yeah, what's your prediction?
I'm ripping the Band-Aid off. Jeff Hardy's going to win.
That's what I thought too, brother. That's what I thought too. I'm just going to say, regardless, because I am an asshole, and I am definitely prone to pettiness like anybody else, Sami Zayn's going to be my Intercontinental Champion regardless. His Twitter game has been untouchable.
You know what, though? This program needs to keep going regardless of who wins. Even if Sami does win, I still want this program to continue because these three guys are all great. I really want this program to continue into and maybe even through Survivor Series, and maybe even there's still like turmoil between the two guys that aren't the current Intercontinental Champion at the time of Survivor Series, and they eliminate each other from their respective Survivor Series match. I'm just like, I love this program, and even Jeff, I feel like, has really held his own, at least on the mic. Obviously, we know he moves at about 2 miles an hour in the ring, but like, this is like my second favorite program on SmackDown, but the difference between this and Roman J is that this is fucking workhorses in the ring.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I could even see, because Survivor Series, they're probably going to have the Intercontinental Champion versus the U.S. Champion, them squabbling over. You're really going to have him represent SmackDown as Intercontinental Champion when it should be me. I could just hear Sami saying that right now.
I know, yeah. You really think a junkie is a better representative for this brand than me?
I mean, you're not wrong. So, I am really rooting for Sami in this, desperately so. Yeah. But I do think
that's the thing. It's like, this is where the stark divide between what we expect to happen and what we want to happen is most glaring, right? Because we really, really both want Sami to win desperately, but we're also both kind of level-headed enough to know what WWE wants, and we think that they want for Jeff to keep going as the champion.
But I do ultimately hope, just to put this out there, because I could see Sami, like you said you wanted it to keep going, I could see Sami saying, look, I'm still the rightful Intercontinental Champion. You didn't pin me to win that match, Jeff.
Exactly.
And in fact, you picked the stipulation, and it was your stipulation. How is that fair to me? So, like, I could see Sami totally leveraging that excuse. Absolutely. I do think Sami will get the belt back ultimately. It's just so good to see him back doing what he does so goddamn well.
Yep.
And, yeah, it could very well be match of the night. We'll see what happens.
God, yeah. You say very well. It's really... I'll be surprised. I'll be shocked if any other match is able to outdo this.
Yeah, I think I can agree with you there ultimately.
Which, to be fair, moving on, the one match on this card that probably has the best chance at outdoing it is Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso for the Universal Championship. Because let's be real, I wouldn't consider either of these guys to be like A-tier in-ring performers. But we've seen them both have great matches with great partners, and I think that these are two pretty damn great partners for each other. Roman Reigns is one of those guys that we haven't really seen work a full match since coming back. This might be the one time that that'll happen. This will be the first time that we get to see Roman Reigns in a full match since his return as a heel. Very curious to see if, and that's a big if to me, if his moveset has changed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this. The swagger Roman Reigns has got right now. Yeah. Paul Heyman by his side. Not even really, like, he talks for him a little bit, but he's more of a secondary character. He literally, like, stands behind Roman, and I love that. Jey has been showing the fire. See, this is how, because, like, I know that people, when they reminisce about the Attitude Era, they loved how sometimes, like, underdogs come out of nowhere and challenge the big guys. Like, one match that immediately comes to mind was when Taka Michinoku challenged Triple H. And, like, this is a good underdog matchup because Jey won that fatal 4-way seemingly out of nowhere. They obviously have the bloodline connection, which is definitely going to, strengthen the narrative. And, yeah, after the work that they did recently, just tonight that I was hearing about from you guys, where Roman's just like, this will always be my seat at the table. You're going to get your paycheck and the ass beating that comes with it, but this championship's going to stay mine. Roman is just on a whole other level right now. Jay, I think, has always been solid on the mic with his brother Jimmy, and him getting to stand out on his own has been great. And I love, too, can I just say, too, because I always wondered how the Usos would do as singles acts. I love that we get to answer that question without a betrayal, without I'm going to stab him in the back or whatever. It's really just because, look, Jimmy's dealing with his own stuff. And, to WWE's credit, when normally they just let tag teams they know that they can both talk. And it's like, hey, Jay, let's give you this just opportunity at Clash of Champions. I love this. I love everything about this. That being said, I think Roman's going to retain. I mean, the end goal to me is still Roman Reigns versus Big E at WrestleMania. Nothing is slowing that train down.
Yeah.
But I really do hope for a solid matchup with maybe even a few hope spots from Jay. If it's like a roll-up or maybe even gets the Uso splash. Heyman does some of his facial expressions where his eyes are bugging out of his skull.
Yeah.
You've got a great Universal Championship match right there. And then you do Fiend Roman Hell in a Cell next month. So I think we're good. Roman retains. It's going to be a solid matchup. You do Fiend at Hell in a Cell. I don't know where you go from there, admittedly. Maybe you try and do another Jeff Hardy redemption story.
Well, dude, remember the next pay-per-view after Hell in a Cell, Survivor Series. So I'm guessing it'll be Roman versus Drew versus, I'm guessing, Balor at that point.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that actually sounds pretty fucking dope. Especially because we know Balor can beat Roman, and Roman's beaten Drew. And Drew, I think, is beating Vince, so everybody's kind of beating everybody.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors situation. You'll love it.
Yeah, and then TLC, I could legitimately, I know, I can tell you something. TLC, I could either see maybe Daniel Bryan comes back, because we haven't seen him in a while, or maybe that would actually seem more fitting for
Well, hasn't Bryan been staying away, though, because of COVID, because of his kids?
Yeah, he might be, and given the winter months, he might want to stay away even harder.
Yeah.
What I will say, though, and I say this kind of jokingly, but, I could see it happening. Fucking Jeff Hardy could get a shot at it, and it could be a TLC match.
I mean, if Jeff Hardy is done with the Intercontinental Championship by then, I could see that. Or the other name that kind of came to my mind was Matt Riddle.
That is true. I think they haven't pulled the trigger on him yet. For obvious reasons, they're dealing with the personal stuff with Riddle right now. Yep. But if that's all cleared up by December, no reason why that can't happen. Yeah.
Or I mean, if they want to kind of treat TLC as almost like a filler pay-per-view, which they have in the past. Maybe Otis loses the briefcase, and because he loses the briefcase, he decides, well, I do want to win the world title, so maybe I just have to challenge for it straight up. And we get Otis versus Roman at TLC in a tables match.
Dude, I would love that because it would just be another unique challenger in Roman's reign that he's kind of carrying because he's this great heel.
Isn't that the best thing about Roman, though, and him really, not being Brock? Because with Brock, every single time he wrestled, it felt like a waste of Brock. Because if it wasn't one of his, dream opponents, it's like, oh, great. Now he's going to get through this match, and then we're not going to see him again for 5 months or whatever. But with Roman, we know he's defending that title, not even just at every pay-per-view. We've seen him or actually, no, we haven't. I was going to say we've seen him defend it on the TV show, but I don't think that's happened yet. But we still have seen him defend it every pay-per-view. He was on SummerSlam. He was on Clash of Champions. He was on Payback. He is a true full-time world champion, and he is basically still filling the Brock role on TV. But the reason we always get so angry about Brock when he's champion isn't because of him being Brock Lesnar, the role that he fills. It's because we never see him. We see him 4 or 5 times a year at most. He has 3 matches a year. And, we just assume that if he retains, oh, great, that's, we don't get another championship match until, 5 months down the line. Roman, though, him being around and him being champion and him being this full-time version of Brock Lesnar, basically, means that if we have, a kind of a sillier, goofier opponent for him, it doesn't feel like a waste, and we can get a really genuinely good storyline out of it. And Otis could provide that in December.
Yeah, again, I think you said everything perfectly. There's not really much I can add on to that. I am really vibing with Roman's reign. Pun kind of intended there.
Roman Reignsing?
Yeah. And, that Money in the Bank contract, Miz, again, being a dick, because I heard he was the only name added in the lawsuit, so he's trying to cut Jomo out of it, because of course he is. Maybe this will even lead to Jomo turning face, but I'm getting away from the actual topic here. Either way, Roman's having a very unique reign. And I'm very curious to see it continue. I've already kind of penciled in what I think he could do in the future. I could definitely see Bryan for Rumble, maybe, depending on where COVID is at. And then, of course, the big goal really is Big E at WrestleMania, so let's get it.
All right, so now we get to what I'm assuming will be the main event of the entire show. we get Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, defending against Randy Orton for the umpteenth fucking time. And I'm just going to put it out there, man. I've heard a lot of people being scared, basically, thinking that Drew was going to drop it here to Orton. Craig Skiff has laid out a prophecy in the Discord saying that Drew is going to drop that title to Orton so that Orton versus Edge for the WWE Championship can be on WrestleMania this coming year. That's been a heavy rumor, and Craig is fully bought into it. What do you think, man? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm really glad you're letting me go first on this, because I'm going to be honest. I've enjoyed the build-up to this. I have. I think Drew has been a badass. I don't like that the punt kind of got watered down a bit, with Drew eating the 3. I mean, I've actually been watching Orton's 2007 work, which might have actually been his best year. I really like 2004, 2006, and 2007 Orton. Those are 3 different periods that I really liked his work. And one punt could take you out for months. And Drew's back after week after 3. So I digress. But I got to be honest. I can't lie. Orton's promo by the ambulance on the go-home Raw this past Monday was really good. I've actually watched it multiple times. It was short to the point. He said, this ambulance represents a lot of things to a lot of people, but what it represents to me is my 14th world championship. Orton, again, they're kind of building him up as the most dangerous he's ever been. And
can I just say, though, I loved the botch. Like the...
Oh, yeah.
Not 1, not 2, not 3. Oh, well, actually, shit, it was 3. But you know what, though? It was a silly botch, and it was like, oh, shit. Like, I'm glad that he kind of immediately caught it and made up for it. But, like, in a weird way, it almost sells a concussion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, Randy still isn't quite right after all those claymores,
You got a hell of a finish, kid. I'm still seeing stars.
Wait. Who did he say that to? I forget.
Seth Rollins from the Curb Stomp.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think you could very easily say the same about Drew.
Definitely.
So just a little callback from me there. Yeah. I'm going to be truthful. I've liked Orton's work here. I've loved Drew's work here. And I'm about to be the bad guy because I'm picking Randy Orton to be the next WWE champion. Yeah, I heard it. And here's why. It's an ambulance match. Drew doesn't have to get pinned. He still looks like that freakishly strong champion. It's a finish that protects him. Do I see him get him back before Mania? That's the tricky question, because the crazy thing is, like, a few months ago, they did a promo with Edge, almost like an ECW style promo. I don't know if he was in a ring or what. It seemed very darkly lit. And he more or less said, like, he tore into Orton. And I feel like he more or less conveyed, like, I'm going to ruin your life. And I could see Edge taking the WWE title from Orton. I really could. WWE loves these stories. And here's the thing. I can't speak for you, Ashton, and maybe I always felt like when Edge committed a 3-year deal that a world title reign was going to be a part of that. Did you feel that way, or did you feel like they were going to keep him away from the world title? Because I thought perfect fairy tale story.
No, yeah. I mean, when we found out about the 3-year deal, I think we even had a discussion live on Twitch while we were playing Rocket League, and I absolutely agreed. I think that he was probably going to have the sort of fairy tale return, and the initial face run would last about a year, and then he would turn heel. But I said that he wouldn't win that world title until after he had turned heel.
That's right. And see, dude, it's not that I can't understand where you're coming from, because I absolutely can. But I just feel like when you have a story like this, he's been away for like 9 years and all this stuff, like, you're telling a fairy tale here. And the last time WWE, I think, had a story, I wouldn't even say of this magnitude, but like kind of supervening on it, kind of similar to it, would be Hogan's return in 2002. Like, he came back as a heel. The crowd turned him face at Mania. Can he do it one more time? Because he was 48 years old at the time. Can Hogan do it? And then he beats Triple H Backlash, dropped the title 4 weeks later. And that's the thing. If Edge would win the title, hell, his reigns, even when he was healthy, were always very short. I don't see him having a long reign with it. But I think it's more about the story. The championship really is a quintessential prop in that story. And I could very easily see that being a story being told.
Yeah.
What I want, though, is Keith Lee versus T-Bar. But notice, though, that Drew isn't the WWE champion in either of those scenarios. I don't know what Drew does for the remainder of the year if he drops the title. Going into 2021, mind you, because obviously WrestleMania 2021.
Well, I mean, I would definitely imagine, at least at first, his first, maybe even Hell in a Cell match. Oh, fuck, that makes sense too, doesn't it? Hell in a Cell, Drew Orton.
Yeah, because Drew would get the return match. And because here's the thing, they only had the SummerSlam match. This is supposed to be the rematch. SummerSlam feels like a lifetime ago because they didn't do anything at Payback, remember, because Drew was taken out. We got Orton versus Keith Lee.
Yeah.
So really, this is only their second match in all that time. They're going to do a trifecta. And I think you can only do a trifecta when you have Orton win the one-step match, and then maybe Drew wins the other. I don't know, dude. I'm just taking this one pay-per-view at a time.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to sign on, but here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Drew drops the title to Orton here and then wins it right back in a Hell in a Cell match next month and then keeps it until Mania.
And dude, I can totally understand where you're coming from. For me, 90% of what I've said here is pure conjecture. Yeah. I stand by the Orton pick. That's the other 10%. But I think this title reign with Drew is starting to get to the point now where we're getting in those murkier waters where we're starting to get to events where I'm like, maybe he could drop it here because I think we're at that point in his reign, at least in my opinion. So I'm just taking this one pay-per-view at a time. So for this pay-per-view, I'm saying, yeah, he drops it here. Orton's going to win. Maybe even an RKO on the stretcher, and then he just kind of pushes him in the ambulance. I don't know. Or maybe, you know what? If Drew does retain, I guarantee you the finish is going to be he's going to claymore Orton. Orton's going to fall back into the stretcher, and then Drew's just going to be able to push it into the ambulance. And then that'll be how he retains. It's going to be.
You know what, dude? I want to add something.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the date was for Backlash? Do you remember? Because that was like the best wrestling match ever or whatever, that Edge tore his pec.
Oh, no, I don't know.
It was in June. It was in June. It was June 14th.
Okay.
They said, and this was WWE now, that Edge would be out for 4 to 8 months.
Okay.
Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because we're about at the 3.5 month mark.
Yeah.
And we have known rehab freaks, Edge of which being one, and Cena, those two guys especially, they've been known to return before they're actually fully ready to return and just kind of play it safe.
Yeah.
What are the chances we get Edge returning on this show to cost Orton the title, and then that is the Hell in a Cell match, Edge-Orton?
That is a very distinct possibility, dude. I wouldn't take that off the table.
Can you imagine if Orton hits a punt on Drew, drags him over to the ambulance, and then opens the ambulance door and it's fucking Edge standing in the ambulance and he jumps out at him and beats the shit out of him? Are you kidding me? The pop that would, well, pop, quote unquote, there's no crowd, but you get the idea.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Yeah, I see your vision, man. I see your vision. Oh, man, that makes it tough, though. Because, see, I feel like this Hell in a Cell coming up is going to be one of the first Hell in a Cell pay-per-views in a long time where whoever gets the stip match, and I would even include Fiend Roman in this, just given how, Fiend's been cheated, the stip's going to feel appropriate.
Real. Yeah. It feels earned.
So I'm actually low-key looking forward
we could get Bayley Sasha, we could get Fiend Roman, we could get Orton Drew, we could get Orton Edge. Like, there are a lot of options for the Hell in a Cell this year, and I don't know if there's any way to go wrong, really. And I say that, but they'll find a way, right?
yeah, like Alexa and Nikki will get Hell in a Cell.
Or like fucking the Intercontinental title will get shoved into it, like, Jeff, AJ, Sami, triple threat in the cell.
Yeah. God damn. But if they go with because they usually do 2 Hell in a Cell matches, so if 2 of those 4 options, like, actualize themselves, I'll be hyped for Hell in a Cell this year. No lie.
Dude, I'll tell you straight up. I think my dream Hell in a Cell card, the 2 actual Hell in a Cell matches, and the only reason that I'm not including Bayley Sasha in this is because I'm hoping that Sasha's out for longer than it would require for her to be back in time for Hell in a Cell, because I hope that Mark's prediction is right and that we don't see Sasha until either the lead up to or at the Royal Rumble, because I want her to win it. I hope that our 2 Hell in a Cell matches are Fiend Roman for the WWE or for the Universal title and Orton Edge, because I want Drew versus T-Bar for the WWE title to happen on that same card.
Yeah, dude, I'm really seeing your vision as far as like Edge returning and that being a Hell in a Cell match potentially.
Yeah.
You know what though?
It feels so recent that Edge went out with the torn pec, but they said 4 to 8 months, and I always look at the low end of that because they also always like to kind of overestimate how long it'll take somebody to recover, because then they can return them a little bit earlier for a big surprise. If they pull that exact second, because they pulled that with Cena, they pulled that with Triple H, they've pulled it with Edge himself before. If they do it again, we are literally only 2 or 3 weeks before the earliest projected return point that Edge already had announced. I'm telling you, man, it could happen. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. Edge could be the reason that Drew beats Orton at this show. That's my thing too, is that sets up so perfectly then for Orton Edge Hell in a Cell, because that's like, finally we can be done with this feud. Like, we don't have to have it at WrestleMania because we can have the blow off happen at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and then honestly, what I would do for Edge at Mania would either be AJ or Seth, given that Seth threatened to paralyze him a lot of years ago.
Please.
Personal feud,
yes.
And it would get him away from the Mysterio family, which I've already penciled in to face Garza and Andrade.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Or I mean, hell, if Ray really wants to be retired from in-ring action, Ray and Edge used to be a tag team. Edge and Dominic could be an interesting tag team to challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Dominic being with a veteran like Edge, that's a tree of knowledge right there. But let me ask you this: let me put you in the hot seat as we're close to like wrapping this up. Have you gotten yourself hyped enough that you're going to pick Drew to retain? With your own vision.
Yep. I'm going with Drew. I hope that you stick with Orton, though.
I am sticking with Orton.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love your vision, that's way too precarious for me to put any stock in me.
It's very precarious. And this is the why I always kind of afford myself one match every preview to just say fuck it to the most likely scenario and go with the scenario that I want most, that's maybe a little bit possible and realistic. And this is the one for me in this one. This is the one that I'm just like, you know what? I'm going with my heart over my head. I want it more than I care about being right in this case.
There you go. All right, guys. That's our preview. This is going to be one hell of a card. I think I'm going to stick at an 8 for my hype.
And you know what? The possibility of Edge returning and some of the other discussions that we've had, I'm going to go up to a 7.5 now. I'm at a 7.5. I'm solid.
There you go. I'll tell you, these preview predictions are magical. All right, guys. Well, that was that. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed our breakdown. Subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications so you never again miss any of that twit-wow goodness. When this video is done processing, comment down below. Talk to us. What are your predictions for Clash of Champions Gold Rush 2020? And,
that's right. They called it Gold Rush.
And yeah, guys, I guess really the big question, I want to hear your predictions just for the card entire, but do you think Edge will return? What do you think is going to be the fallout from this leading into Hell in a Cell? You know, just give us your thoughts, guys. Tomorrow we're off. I don't think we have any recordings tomorrow.
Correct.
No Stardom shows, no G1.
But then we have a double header on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday at 4 we'll be going live with G1 Climax Day 5 A block. And then probably like 6:30, 6:45, we'll be going live with Clash of Champions kickoff, Asuka versus Zelina. And then 7, we'll be doing Clash of Champions, live reactions. So there you go. And yeah, so we'll see you guys there. I'm going to hand it over to Ash and take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, and as John said, let us know what you think is going to happen on this show down in the comments. I'm actually seeing, John, let me know if the numbers that I'm seeing here are off. I'm seeing 9 viewers to only 2 likes. That's kind of odd.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, go ahead and like the video, people. Let us know, know that you're appreciating what we're doing here. Let us know that you're enjoying some of our little narratives that we've been crafting here. If you're excited at the potential of an Edge return on this show. Nobody else that I'm aware of is speculating that. I think that this is the first time that I've heard anyone even suggest that Edge might return on this show. So be sure to leave a like, because that's some next level theory crafting right there. That being said, though, if you'd like to support the channel, of course, follow us on Twitter and Twitch, and then subscribe on Twitch as well. You can also buy our merch on Teespring, donate to our Patreon, share this video and this channel with all of your wrestling fan friends, and let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube and Twitch wrestling communities. That's right, we are TwitWow, and we are the workhorses of the Y and T WCs, and we will continue to earn that moniker with our continued coverage of WWE pay-per-views and AEW pay-per-views, but mostly Stardom, New Japan, and NXT. Stardom, the 5-star Grand Prix just ended. We're kind of in a little bit of a middle period right now, but you know that the Goddess Tag League is right around the corner. The big 10-3 show coming up is going to be gigantic and stacked. In New Japan, we've got the G1 Climax going on right now. Like John said, we've got Day 5 coming up on Sunday. Day 6 is Tuesday. Day 7 is Wednesday. I'm looking forward to all of those. And then, of course, NXT, we cover every Wednesday, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And, of course, then we do have the doubleheader on Sunday. I already mentioned G1 at 4. John mentioned it as well. And then, of course, this live reaction, Clash of Champions. All that being said, we will also be live reacting to Stardom probably next Thursday, since we've got G1 on Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. So, man, there's a lot coming up. There's a lot going on in wrestling right now, especially in Japan, because they, handled the coronavirus relatively well and are actually having shows and crowds right now. It's pretty amazing what happens when you just are competent and have a population that actually kind of is willing to obey, orders that can save lives and stuff. It's crazy how different things can be. All that being said, though, we hope that you're all looking forward to all the content coming at you over the next week. And most importantly, we hope that you're all able to remember to stay tuned.